I never believed in stories about haunted dolls. To me, they were just products of cinema, of clickbait articles made to attract views. But everything changed on what should have been a normal, quiet evening in my small apartment nestled in an old residential block, where nights were filled only with the creaking of ceiling fans and the muffled hum of the neighbor's TV behind thin walls. That night, I was having dinner, a plate of spaghetti without meat, like always. I'm a strict vegetarian, not for religious reasons, but because of a digestive disorder that makes it impossible for me to process animal protein. While I was quietly eating, there was a knock at the door, 3 slow, heavy knocks. I looked up, annoyed. No one ever came to visit at this hour. When I opened the door, I froze. Standing there was a middle-aged woman, hair disheveled, wrapped in a thick old coat, cradling a small doll in her arms like it was her child. She looked exhausted, her face smeared with dirt, her eyes wild and dry lips trembling. But it was the doll that truly disturbed me. It wasn't normal. Its short, jagged hair looked like it had been cut by hand. Its skin was pale and uneven in tone, and its face wore an unnatural scowl. Most unsettling of all were its eyes, vacant, hollow, utterly lifeless. Before I could say anything, the woman shrieked, "Give me something to eat! Anything, please!" I was stunned. She didn't smell like a typical homeless person, but something about her clearly wasn't right. I looked at her, then down at the doll, hesitating. I only have bread. I'm a vegetarian." She nodded immediately, eyes lighting up. I went inside and grabbed the last loaf of bread from my kitchen. When I came back, she snatched it from me, then didn't eat it herself, but shoved it directly into the doll's mouth. I froze. The doll's jaw opened wider than it should have, unnaturally so, like the lower jaw was unhinging completely. The bread disappeared into it as if sucked into a void. Not a single crumb remained. I swallowed hard. The woman pressed her ear to the doll's lips, paused for a moment, then turned to me and said flatly, "She doesn't like bread. She wants meat." I slammed the door shut. My heart pounded in my chest. I didn't know what the hell just happened, but everything in me screamed that something was wrong. From that night on, I double-locked my doors. But a few days later, the knocking returned, this time softer. I peeked out the window. There she was again, standing at my door. But the doll had changed. It was taller, its hair longer, and its scowl had faded slightly, though its face was still deeply unsettling. I wasn't sure if this was the same doll or a different one. Out of morbid curiosity or perhaps guilt, I brought her a vegetarian sandwich. She once again fed the doll. This time, I watched closely. Its teeth that hadn't been there before, were now visible and chewing. I stood frozen. The small, chalky teeth inside its mouth were grinding the sandwich like it had real muscle, real force. I couldn't look away. Was this doll designed to move its jaw? Was I imagining it? That uneasy feeling in my chest turned to nausea. I shut the door quickly and locked it. I muttered to myself that the CEO of whatever company made that doll must have been possessed by something evil. From then on, she came back almost every day. I never opened the door again. Just the sight of the doll from behind the curtain made my skin crawl. After a few more days, I got used to ignoring the knocking. But one night, I bolted awake when I heard the angry voice of a child outside. I checked the time, 3 a.m., and I was furious. I carefully peeked out my window into the darkness. There she was again, the woman, but now the doll. The doll wasn't in her arms anymore. It was standing on the ground. It had grown again, now reaching up to her knees. Its face was twisted in a furious snarl, its eyes burning red. The woman pounded on the door, shouting, "My child wants soup with meat. Now!" Then she tried to open my window. I screamed back, "I'm a vegetarian," furious and terrified. And then she vanished. The next day, while walking through the neighborhood, I noticed police tape around my neighbor's house. I asked someone nearby what had happened, and what he told me chilled me to my core. He looked at me strangely, his voice low and full of unease. "You know that woman who's been going door to door with that creepy doll? She murdered the man who lived in that house." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" I asked, already fearing the answer. Cops said his abdomen was slashed open, but not with a knife, with the doll's fingernails. They found traces of synthetic resin mixed with human tissue. Said the cuts were impossibly clean, like from razor blades. I could barely process what I was hearing. "It gets worse," the man said. She cooked his remains, made soup. And when the police asked her why, she just pointed to the doll and said, "It's her favorite dish." I stood there in shock, unable to move. "And the doll," he added with a haunted look. "They found it on the floor next to the pot, but it weighed far more than a regular doll, like a sack of bricks. When they cut it open at the station, they found stuff, flesh, organs, but not plastic imitations, real tissue, but not quite human either." My hands trembled. I stumbled home, locked every window and door, and didn't sleep that night. The nightmares came almost immediately. I dreamed of the doll sitting at my table, its black eyes staring into mine, grinning with blood-streaked teeth. It would whisper things I couldn't understand and then leap at me with a screech, digging its claws into my chest. I would always wake up drenched in sweat. I began researching everything I could about haunted dolls. No case I read matched this. No cursed item, no possessed antique. Nothing came close. And still, I could hear that knock. Even after the murder, even after the woman had been arrested. Some nights it was gentle. Other nights it was frantic, angry. I never opened the door again. Weeks passed and things started to settle down. The media storm died out. The house where the murder happened was boarded up, but I couldn't let go of the fear. I avoided the front door entirely and only left through the back. Then one morning, I noticed something odd. On my porch, just outside the front door, was a small bowl. Inside it was a cold, thick soup. Brown, greasy, with chunks. And beside it, a note. Just one word written in scrawled red ink. Protein. My legs nearly gave out. I didn't touch the bowl. I called the police, who came and took samples but never got back to me. I never found out what was in that soup. I didn't want to. But it didn't stop there. A week later, my power began to flicker every night at 3 a.m. The same hour that Child's voice had screamed outside my house. My phone would turn on by itself, camera app open, facing the door. I started hearing something crawl across my floor at night. Not footsteps, not animals. Dragging and breathing. I tried to tell myself it was in my head, but one night I awoke to the sound of crunching. Slow, deliberate chewing. I sat up and looked at the foot of my bed. And there, half buried in shadow, was the doll, sitting, watching me, a wet crimson stain around its mouth, its grin wider than I remembered, and its stomach twitching, moving like something was inside. I screamed, threw a lamp, the light shattered, the doll was gone. The next day, I went to a spiritualist, not a priest, not a psychic, just someone, anyone who might know what this thing was. I showed her a rough drawing of the doll. Her face paled instantly. "That's not a doll," she whispered. "That's a vessel for a hungry spirit." "What kind of spirit?" I asked. "One that feeds," she said, "and grows. The more it eats, the more real it becomes. If it's already walking, it's almost fully born, and once it's complete, it doesn't need a host anymore." I asked how to destroy it. She shook her head. "You can't. You can only banish it by severing its bond with the feeder, the woman who thought it was her child. She's in custody," I said. "That bond should be broken." The spiritualist looked at me with pity. "No, it's not her anymore. You fed it now. Twice. Bread, then the sandwich. You gave it offerings. You're the new parent." I left her house cold with dread. I tried not to believe her, but everything she said made sense. The doll hadn't come back because it was hunting. It was waiting until it was strong enough. The knocking stopped altogether, which scared me more than when it had been constant. The silence was heavy, like the pause before a storm. Then one night, the storm came. I was woken not by knocking, not by voices, but by the sound of the front door, clicking open. I knew I had locked it, triple locked it. I sat up in bed, breath caught in my throat. I reached for my phone, dead. My room, pitch black. Then I heard it, footsteps. But not heavy ones. Small, deliberate, soft as felt, and scratching, like fingernails on wood. It was in the hallway. Coming closer. I slid off the bed and grabbed the flashlight under my pillow, heart pounding like a drum. I waited. The doorknob turned once, then again. I flicked the flashlight on and opened the door. No one. The hallway was empty. Or so I thought. I stepped out slowly, then turned toward the living room. And there it was, standing upright, tall as a child now, facing the window. Its head tilted as if listening to something far away. It turned around slowly when it sensed me. I saw its face in the beam of light. Patches of skin had formed over its plastic cheeks. Hair had grown in uneven tufts. Its fingers were long now, with sharp black nails, wet with something dark. It was smiling. Then it spoke. Its voice didn't match its body. It was low, almost guttural, like something old and starving had taken residence in a toy meant for children. You fed me, it said. The words slithered out slowly, each syllable wet and deliberate. You gave me bread, then meat. I backed away, my hand trembling, the flashlight flickering. I didn't know what you were, I whispered. It took one step forward. The floor creaked beneath its weight, far too heavy for something its size. You knew, it growled. You watched me eat. You let her bring me. You fed me again. My back hit the wall. I never meant to, I started, but its eyes flared red for a moment. Hungry, it hissed. Always hungry. Then it opened its mouth. I expected teeth, maybe more blood, but what I saw made my stomach churn. Inside its mouth were faces. Human faces, twisted in agony, mouths open in eternal screams, their features melted and blurred like wax figures abandoned in fire. They stared at me, and I felt them pulling, tugging at my sanity. I turned the flashlight away and ran. I sprinted through the apartment toward the back door, fumbling with the lock, but it was jammed. Behind me, I heard its steps. No longer soft, now pounding like a beast. I dove for the kitchen, grabbed a knife from the drawer, and turned to face it. It stood in the hallway now, taller. I don't know how. Maybe 7 feet. Its arms dangled unnaturally long, brushing the floor. Its fingers twitched. Soup, it rasped. You will be soup. I screamed and slashed at it with the knife. The blade connected, but instead of cutting, it sank in like thick clay. No blood. No scream, just a squelch. The doll, or creature, grabbed the knife with both hands and pushed it deeper into itself, then smiled. More, it said. Give me more. I fled to the bathroom and slammed the door shut. I locked it and shoved my weight against it. My heart felt like it would explode. I grabbed my phone again, still dead. No signal, no sound. Then, silence. Not even footsteps. Only my own panicked breathing. I waited. 5 minutes, 10. Then a small sound. A soft, wet plop. I looked down. Something red was dripping from the ceiling. I looked up. It was on the ceiling. Its head twisted completely backward to stare down at me. Upside down, those soulless eyes blinking independently. Soup, it giggled. Fresh soup. I screamed, kicked the door open, and ran again, out into the hallway, past the kitchen, across the living room. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. I could feel it behind me, close enough that the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I threw myself through the front door into the cold night, barefoot and shaking, and ran down the street screaming. I don't remember who found me. A neighbor, I think. The police came later. They didn't find the doll, but they found blood, lots of it, and skin, strips of it peeled like apple slices on my kitchen floor. None of it matched my DNA. They didn't believe me, of course. They called it a psychotic break, a hallucination. My family said I had finally cracked after too many years living alone. They committed me to a private facility for 6 months. I agreed to it, not because I believed them, but because I was terrified of going back to that apartment. I moved far away afterward, changed my name, cut off everyone, started over. I live in a small town now. No more city blocks, no more late-night knocking. Just quiet. Peace. I bought a small 1-bedroom cabin surrounded by trees. No neighbors for miles. I thought it was over. I told myself it was a trauma response, that the mind can trick itself into believing anything. Until 2 weeks ago. I came home from the grocery store to find a small box on my porch. No address. No postage. Just a box. Black, shiny, sealed with a red ribbon. I stood staring at it for a long time. Then I opened it. Inside was a spoon. A small, silver spoon with the word soup engraved on the handle. That night I couldn't sleep. Every creak of the wooden walls made my skin crawl. I locked every door and window. I left lights on in every room. I sat in bed with a kitchen knife. Then at 3 a.m. I heard it again. Knock, knock, knock. 3 soft taps. Not at the front door. This time it came from under the bed. I don't know how it found me. I don't know how it followed. But I think it was never just the doll. I think the woman was only the first. I think it's something older. Something that needs a person to carry it, to love it, to feed it. And now, I think I'm the next one. Because last night when I looked in the mirror, I saw my reflection smiling back. But I wasn't smiling. And behind my eyes, I swear I saw something move. I haven't slept properly since that night. Every time I close my eyes, I see that twisted grin, my own mouth pulled into a smile that doesn't belong to me. I see my hands feeding the doll, even though I don't remember doing it. I wake up with dirt under my fingernails, scratches on my arms, a strange taste in my mouth. Sometimes I wake up outside, barefoot in the trees behind my cabin, not knowing how I got there. The spoon still sits on the kitchen table. I tried to throw it away once, drove it out to the river, tossed it into the deepest part. But when I got home, it was waiting on the porch again. Clean, shining. I started recording myself while I sleep. I bought a motion-activated camera and set it up in the corner of the room. The first night, there was nothing, just tossing and turning. Second night, the camera caught me sitting upright at 3:03 a.m., staring at the wall for almost an hour, unmoving. Third night, that's when things changed. I watched the footage 20 times. At exactly 3 a.m., I climbed out of bed slowly, like a puppet on strings. My eyes were open, but dull, like they weren't mine. I walked out of frame. 30 seconds later, I came back, carrying something. A bundle. Heavy, limp. It was blurry, but I think it was a rabbit or a cat. Something small. I sat cross-legged in the center of the room, placed the creature on the floor, then reached under the bed and pulled out the doll. It was waiting there, watching. The moment I touched it, its eyes glowed faintly. I placed the animal in front of it. The doll's mouth opened, wide, far too wide, and it devoured the thing whole. No chewing, just inhaled. Then I leaned down, whispered something into its ear, and smiled. When I saw that footage, I vomited. I threw the camera across the room, shattered the screen, but the damage was done. I knew now. I wasn't just being haunted. I was becoming it. I tried to run again, packed a bag, drove south. I didn't tell anyone, just picked a direction and drove. But 20 miles out, my car started to shake. The radio turned on by itself, just static. Then a voice, faint, childlike. "You promised," it whispered. The engine died. I coasted to a stop on an empty road. When I stepped out, the ground beneath my feet felt sticky. I looked down. The asphalt was wet, red, thick, like blood. I abandoned the car and ran. Now I'm back in the cabin. I don't know how. I barely remember walking. Just flashes, trees, fog, something calling me from the shadows. The doll was sitting on my porch when I returned, clean, content, waiting. I stepped over it and locked myself inside. That was 3 days ago. Since then, it's been feeding, not with my hands anymore. Now it goes out on its own. Every night, it leaves. I don't know how. I lock every door. But somehow I wake up and it's gone. When it comes back, it's fatter, fuller. Bits of hair or bone stuck in its teeth. Sometimes it leaves behind a piece of something on the floor, a finger, an ear, a tooth. Yesterday, a dog went missing from town. Today, a hiker. Tomorrow, I think it will be someone I know. But the worst part? I don't care anymore. There's a hunger growing inside me too. Something cold and ancient. I can feel it writhing beneath my ribs like worms in the dirt. I haven't eaten in days, but I don't feel weak. I feel strong, sharp. And when I look in the mirror now, that smile, that horrible, stretched smile, it's starting to feel natural. I dream of boiling water, of bones cracking open, of spoons scraping the bottom of empty bowls. Last night, I found myself in the kitchen, pouring something thick and red into a pot. I don't remember where I got it. I don't ask. I just stirred, humming, the same lullaby the woman used to sing when she cradled the doll. It's not a toy. It never was. It's a seed, a vessel, a parasite. It doesn't just want to eat, it wants to grow. And to do that, it needs more than food. It needs hosts. I don't know who gave it to the woman. I don't know who gave it to me, but I know where it will go next. Because last night, it spoke again, this time clearly. No growling, no echo, just a child's voice. Time to share. Would you like the next 1,000 words? We can explore how the narrator spreads the curse to someone new, or attempts one last desperate act to destroy the doll. I've stopped resisting. I feed it now, not just at night, not just in dreams. In the day, I walk the forest trails with a smile on my face, looking for something small, something living. A bird, a rabbit, once a raccoon. I bring them back. I cook. The doll sits at the table. I serve. It opens its mouth wider than before. Now I can hear the chewing, the cracking of bones, the sucking of marrow. Sometimes it sings while it eats. Sometimes I hum along. But I haven't forgotten everything. A part of me still screams in the back of my skull, pounding on the walls, trying to take back control. I hear it sometimes, my own voice crying out in a dark corner of my mind. But it's faint, distant, dying. There's a mirror in the bedroom I keep covered. The last time I looked, my eyes weren't my own. My reflection tilted its head when I didn't. It moved its lips when I was still. I know what it's trying to say, but I won't listen. Not anymore. Last night, the doll brought something back. Not an animal. Not a piece of roadkill. A man. He was unconscious. His head bleeding. I don't know where the doll found him. I didn't ask. I didn't care. I helped carry him in. I laid him on the table. The doll climbed onto his chest, crouched low like a predator, then turned to me. It nodded. And I obeyed. I took the knife. The man woke up screaming. And then, silence. I made soup. It was delicious. I don't sleep now. I only wait. Wait for the hunger. Wait for the next knock. Wait for the next victim. But tonight is different because tonight the doll is gone. I woke up to an empty table. No blood, no mess, just the spoon. Sitting upright in the bowl, I thought I'd feel free, relieved. But instead I feel something worse. Alone, because it left me full. Stuffed with memories, with rot, with whatever it planted inside me. And now I'm the one who's hungry. I walk through the forest, hands trembling, sniffing the air like an animal. My skin itches. My teeth ache. My tongue feels heavy. I need to feed. I need to grow. I pass a child on the road. She smiles at me. Her mother waves. I wave back. Behind my eyes, something stirs. Tomorrow, there will be another story on the news. A disappearance, then another. And somewhere, maybe in another town, another porch, a small black box will appear. Inside a spoon. And someone will open it, just like I did. And the doll, or whatever made it, will begin again. I left the cabin this morning. The trees no longer whisper secrets to me. They scream warnings. The birds flee when I pass. The animals sense it. Something wrong inside me. Something not human. I walked down to the edge of town. I hadn't been there in weeks, maybe longer. Time slips like blood down the drain. They didn't recognize me at first. Dirty, thin, eyes sunken. But I smiled the way it taught me, and they smiled back. I walked past the church where I once lit candles for protection. The windows were shattered, ash covered the altar. I didn't remember doing it, but I knew I had. I walked past the diner where the old cook used to wave at me. Now the sign hangs crooked, and the door is smeared with something brown and sticky. No one goes inside anymore. I am a shadow that empties places. I am what follows after the knock is ignored, and tonight I will give it to someone new. There's a boy I've seen. Lives in the apartments by the edge of the hill. Small, quiet. Watches the world like he knows it's about to break. I left the box at his door. Same black wood, same velvet lining, same spoon. I waited across the street. His mother opened the door, looked around, picked it up, smiled. The curse likes curiosity. The boy held the spoon in his hands, running his fingers along its curves. That's how it starts. The taste of mystery. The weight of something ancient. I walked away then. It's not my story anymore. I returned to the cabin to burn everything. I smashed the furniture, tore the floorboards, cracked the windows. I poured gasoline into the corners of the room, sloshed it across the walls like holy water. Then I stood in the center, holding a match. I asked it, whatever lived in me, if it wanted to die. And it laughed. Not aloud, not in my ears, inside. From the pit of my gut to the back of my brain, it giggled like a child about to open a birthday present. I lit the match anyway. The fire took fast. The cabin screamed as the heat reached into every crevice. I didn't move. I watched the wallpaper curl and blacken. I watched the smoke twist into faces, hundreds of tiny mouths all chewing. I thought it might end. But fire can't kill what isn't alive. I woke up hours later in the ashes, unburnt, alone and smiling. Weeks passed. The town spoke in whispers about disappearances. People locked their doors, prayed harder, lit candles, but they never left. That's what humans do. They settle even while rot creeps up their legs. Then one day I saw the woman again, the one from the beginning. Her hair was longer now, gray, her clothes tattered, eyes hollow, yet something in them glittered like sharp glass. She was sitting on a bench outside the general store, cradling a new bundle. I froze. The doll, it wasn't the same. This one was smaller, rounder, with stitched red lips and eyelids that opened too wide. She saw me, smiled, nodded. I nodded back. She walked past me and whispered, "It never ends, but it always changes." And I believed her. I left that town for good. I take buses now, trains. I don't stay anywhere long. Just long enough to find someone hungry, someone empty, someone who wants more than the world gives them. And I give them the spoon. I never speak. I never explain. But the box opens, the hunger begins, and I move on. Sometimes I dream of the woman singing to the doll, cradling it against her chest while blood dripped from its mouth. Sometimes I hear the sound of something bubbling, a pot, always boiling. But mostly, I hear chewing, the slow, wet sound of something being consumed, and I smile because I know it's growing, and I helped. One night, in a city I'd never seen before, I entered a pawn shop with flickering lights and cracked windows. Something pulled me there, some thread tightening in the air. On a shelf in the back, behind rusted tools and broken toys, sat a single object, a box. Black wood, velvet lining, but no spoon. I reached for it, but before I could touch it, the clerk, a pale man with two wide eyes, shook his head. "You're not the giver anymore," he said. I felt the air shift, heavy, wet. "You're the recipe." "What?" I whispered. He handed me a note. Just 4 words written in childlike scrawl. "Now it cooks you." I dropped the box and ran, but I know what it means. The hunger isn't just in me. I am the hunger, and something is coming to eat me. Tonight, as I sit in another motel room, another nowhere town, I feel it creeping in again. The need, the pressure behind my teeth, the bones in my fingers grinding against each other. I open the bathroom door and find the mirror fogged. Not from steam, from breath. But I've been alone all day. I wipe the glass. My reflection doesn't move. Its smile stretches, its eyes narrow. And then, from behind me on the bed, I hear a small metallic clink. I turn. The spoon is back. And I am soup. The end.